Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal channel. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 2 at the Emirates Stadium. And I'm really disappointed with the result, but it brings out what Arsenal is all about this campaign. That result right there, Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 2, just wraps up Arsenal's campaign. It just symbolizes, it really tells the story of how our season has actually been. A season where Arsenal have been dropping points from winning positions every single time. A season where we have been drawing game after game after game after game. And a season where Arsenal have only one hope, and that is the UEFA Champions League. We shall also talk about how Crystal Palace really gave us a run for our money, especially in the wide areas and also runs in behind, and how PSG could actually exploit that. So I think there are so many important, lessons that Mikel Arteta picked up from that one. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Let me know. I am not angry with the result. I'm not angry with the performance. I'm just disappointed that a game that looked like it was sealed by Arsenal once again was unlocked by Crystal Palace, and we dropped 2 more points. Now, the first thing I want to start with is Mikel Arteta. I love Mikel. I think he's a great manager, but I want to ask him one question. Why the hell are you still playing Raheem Sterling on match day 34 of the Premier League season? Why are we still playing Raheem Sterling? This is the time where you're like, yes, we are no longer in the title race. We don't want to chase Liverpool. We are not chasing Liverpool. That is realistically true. And Mikel has always said that we shall chase Liverpool until it is mathematically impossible. I think right now, today, it is mathematically impossible to catch Liverpool. Why don't we play Ethan Nwaneri for 90 minutes? Why don't we play Ethan Nwaneri for 20 minutes or 70 minutes? Why don't we play Max Downman? Why don't we play Abbas Starlins? Why don't we play Oyedeji? Why Raheem Sterling? For instance, I don't understand. Raheem Sterling is a player on loan from Chelsea who has had a dreadful campaign at Arsenal. He has had 1 or 2 games, and that is it, right? Arsenal reached a point where Kieran Tierney was starting as a left winger ahead of Raheem Sterling. That is how bad Raheem Sterling has been. Kieran Tierney is one of the players that never play for Arsenal through injury. He never plays, right? But for him to come back, work hard, and impress the manager and start as a left winger in a game while Raheem Sterling is available and as an option, that tells the whole story. So I don't know why he keeps playing Raheem Sterling. I think the only thing I saw from Raheem Sterling yesterday was a correct back pass. He gave away the ball every single time he tried to pass it forward. He tried to dribble players. He gave away the ball. He tried to beat players. He gave away the ball. I just don't understand at this point whether Mikel is just trying to keep the friendship between him and Raheem, or he has other plans and other reasons, which I don't understand. There is no point in playing Raheem Sterling. Now, that is typical of Mikel Arteta, but that performance yesterday and that result yesterday is typical of Arsenal. And that is why Arsenal, as we get into the summer, we've got to work on what Mikel has been calling effectiveness. We've got to work on players that can impact games for us. We've got to bring in players that can, really change games for us. For instance, yesterday, Arsenal had a lot of possession. Like, we really had a lot of possession. We had the lion's share of the ball. And at some point in time, 70 minutes, I was like, it's over. Arsenal are winning this game 2-1. It's a good performance, well-controlled performance. It's okay. And then, boom, there is a mistake, and Arsenal concede, and the game ends 2-2. In fact, it should have ended 3-2. Crystal Palace had a couple of other chances towards the end of the game. But that is not the point. The point is not the mistake from Saliba and Martin Odegaard. That's not the point. The point is, this season, that is what has happened every single time. Arsenal have dropped more points than any other team from winning position, and we're trying to win the Premier League. We have dropped points from winning positions countless times. Think about that Crystal Palace game. You think Arsenal are in good position and you drop points. The same happened with Liverpool. The same happened with Manchester City. The same happened with Brighton. The same has happened with so many teams. Even Aston Villa, where Arsenal were leading 2-0, by the end of the game, Villa had a 2-all draw and they had a point. So I don't know how we fix this, because we have one of the best defenses in the world. I mean, anyone would say, if you're dropping points from winning positions, then all you've got to do is, work on your defense, try to defend better. But our defense is one of the best in the world. Teams are really scared of playing this Arsenal defense. Teams are really terrified of playing this Arsenal defense. So what is it that we've got to do in order to change this? For me, there are two things that Mikel has got to work on. One can be done in the transfer window. The other has to be done internally. One, we need to manage our games better. And this is crazy because when you think about the XG against for Arsenal, it is so little. Like, teams are not really creating good chances against us. If I count for you the chances that Crystal Palace had yesterday, that should have resulted into a goal, Edin Ketia should have scored. That Jakub Kivio block was world class, like really insane. That should have been a goal. And then you think about the Eze goal. I think there is the XG for that Eze goal is so minimal. I mean, Eze is good, but that was brilliant, right? And then we think about the Mateta chance. That was, a chance, right? Just a mistake, but it's a chance. So there are very few chances for Crystal Palace. And in my opinion, if Arsenal had done better, Crystal Palace would have only scored one goal or even none in that game. But I think what Mikel has got to work on, right, is when you're leading and when you are having that advantage, how do you keep it and make sure that you get more? And I think that getting more goals is what has been hurting us this campaign. Arsenal could have been easily 3-1 or even 4-1 in that game. But it's just that additional goal that has always let us down, right? Arsenal create chances, they dominate the position, they create chances, but you're leading a game 2-1, you're leading a game 1-0, and we know that 2-1 in the Premier League, it doesn't mean anything. We know that 3-1 in the Premier League, it doesn't mean anything. And we saw that yesterday. The second thing that Mikel has got to work on to solve this problem of dropping points from winning positions, in my opinion, is go out there and get yourself a striker. It's as simple as that. Now, this might seem too direct and too easy, and a couple of people say, listen, Kosi, this is just simple, too simplistic of analysis. Yes, it is too simplistic, but that is what Arsenal need. Think about the chances that are going begging within this Arsenal team. Think about if all these chances are buried. If Arsenal had the goals of a Victor Gyökeres or a Benjamin Sesko, maybe we are in a much better position this season. Maybe we wouldn't be forced to stand, and watch Liverpool win the Premier League 3 games to go or 4 games to go. That is the whole point of getting a number 9. Can we get someone that can bury the chances that this team is creating? So, dropping points from winning positions, again, we saw it yesterday, and it's something that Arsenal have suffered from again and again. And then the other problem that we have suffered from, and I think it's a result of Arsenal dropping points from winning positions, is a lot of draws. We have drawn a lot of games this campaign, and no. You can't win the title with about 14 draws. 14 draws, right? It's a lot. That is just 14 points, right? I think we've drawn for 14 games, right? So that is just 14 points from 14 games. No, it's just too little. And yes and no, Liverpool aren't too vast of a force. They don't have like 20 points above us. But maybe if Arsenal just had 10 more points from those 14 games that we've drawn, 10 more points, we would be breathing behind Liverpool's neck. We'll be breathing under Liverpool's neck. But Liverpool have gone so free. They've gone unchallenged. They've gone, it's been an easy ride for them. because we have drawn so many games. And why we have drawn so many games, I can't tell. The only thing I can say is probably this is a result of Arsenal dropping points from winning positions. That's what I can say. But apart from that, I don't know why we're drawing so many games. I don't know why we're drawing so many games. I don't know why we're dropping so many points from winning positions. Now, let's talk about the Crystal Palace game in relation to the PSG game, because there are so many lessons that Mikel Arteta has got to learn as we get into the PSG game. And lesson number one, pace in behind is a big threat to us. You know, Crystal Palace started off in easy mode, and I think you saw that, right? They didn't have Ismail Sarr, and they didn't have Mateta. So they started with Edin Nketiah, and Nketiah is this kind of striker who doesn't peel off to run direct at you, but he literally drops into the midfield, picks up the ball, he acts like a board, picks up the ball, and then he will just link up play with either Eze or the likes of Adam Watson deep into midfield. And we, at the beginning of the game, you saw Edin Nketiah dropping as deep as the center line to help up with build-up. When Oliver Glasner changed his tactics and he brought on Ismail Sarr and he brought on Mateta, the game absolutely turned on its head. And Arsenal started struggling, and we started, we started really struggling, that's the truth. Because Sarr is a direct player. He's an absolute freak of a direct player. He's got pace, and he's got the skill to beat players 1v1 in wide areas. And that is what Mateta does. He doesn't really care about picking up the ball and driving it to midfield and keeping possession. He's direct. He wants to run at defenders. He wants to create chaos. And when that happened, we struggled. We absolutely struggled. So pace in behind is something that we've got to find a solution for before we get into the PSG game, right? Because yes, Ismail Sarr and Mateta are really pacey players, but they are not as pacey as Desire Doué, Kavicha Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, Bakola, and the others. This PSG side will try to frustrate us with their pace. So Arsenal have got to do whatever it takes to make sure that we do not get outdone by PSG with runs in behind and that pace. Because our high line was exposed again and again yesterday when Mateta and Ismail Sarr came on, right? Because the thing you have with Crystal Palace yesterday and what they have is they've got very good players in midfield that can, play the balls over the top. We saw one ball that caused us big problems from Emirates Eze into Edin Nketiah. Of course, Nketiah is not so much of a smart finisher, but you get the point. And then we saw another ball that was, played in again above our back line, and it fell into Eze. He scoops it over for Edin Nketiah, and they have a very beautiful chance. That's around four touches. One touch, and the ball is into Eze. It has flown over this Arsenal setup, and then Eze stops the ball, 2 touches. The third touch is into Edin Nketiah, and then Nketiah gets a touch. That is number 4, and then number 5, they're shooting. We've got to find a solution to that, especially against PSG. The other problem I saw, and the other lesson we've got to pick from this one as we get into the PSG game, and I think Mikel has already seen this in my opinion, is at times the midfield dominance doesn't matter. Honestly, at times the midfield dominance doesn't matter. And PSG is a team that are not going to threaten you with their midfield performances and dominance. Yes, look, I like Vitinha. I've already said that I'll take Vitinha. Maybe I'll take Vitinha over Martin Odegaard. Maybe, just maybe. And then João Neves, I like João Neves as well. You have Fabian Ruiz in there. You have Zai Emery. I like that team. I like their midfield. But when you compare it to Merino, Rice, Odegaard, Partey, how well drilled this Arsenal team are, I can't compare the midfield to us. But at times the midfield is just there to facilitate. We have seen this with Liverpool and the Jurgen Klopp. They'll have Jadon Henderson, they'll have Thiago Alcantara, they'll have whoever they can in midfield. And then they'll have a fantastic front three and wing backs that are flying like heaven. And that's what PSG are. They remind me so much of the Liverpool and the Jurgen Klopp. That is another lesson that we've got to look, pick from that Crystal Palace game. Because Crystal Palace didn't have flying fullbacks yesterday. They didn't have. Makehi, yeah, he was quite advanced lots of the time, but caused very little damage in my opinion. But when you think about PSG, Hakimi and Nuno Mendes, and then you think about the pace they have on those wings, you can hurt them because they're going to pick up really high and advanced positions on the pitch, but they will hurt you as well. So that's what we learned from that game. I hope that Arsenal fans are not angry, because why would you be angry? The league is gone.